Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses believe if a member of the congregation is sinning, the whole congregation loses God's spirit. They call it the Achan syndrome. And if you remember in the Bible, Achan, Achan did sin. And he was a sin of stealing some of the accursed things from Jericho. And of course, Achan being an Israelite at the time, he took some of this stuff from this Babylonian Jericho, and it was a garment and some silver and a wedge of gold. And because he did that, a curse seemed to be placed on the nation, and many soldiers died when they went into battle, one particular battle. So the question is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as the Achan syndrome, and does this really happen in the true Christian church? So we'll ask Igal first to talk about the Achan syndrome.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. It's a very interesting terminology, Achan syndrome. Interestingly, I never heard of this terminology before. Of course, I'm very familiar with the story of Achan, or Achan in Hebrew, as we find it in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the book of Joshua. So the principle of one person, one individual who falls into sin that impacts the entire community, it's a biblical principle. However, when the Watchtower Society attempts to apply to themselves, it lacks any biblical theological grounding whatsoever. First of all, we have to begin with that the Watchtower organization is not God's community, right? They do not have the Spirit of God. They are controlled by the spirit of the Antichrist. They are under false doctrine. Okay, those people need to be redeemed. They need to be born again. They need to be delivered from spiritual evil spirits that they live with all their life in the Watchtower organization. Okay, so the thing is that when they try to apply different biblical passages to themselves, it really sounds a little bit off track, because they are not biblical Christians. They are not Bible-believing Christians. Okay, they need to repent. They need to come to know the Lord, and then they need to join a local Bible-believing community when they would believe in the truth and live according to it. Okay, so that's specifically with the question of the Watchtower organization. Okay, now once we apply the principle of the story of Achan from Joshua chapter 7 to a Bible-believing community, whether it can be different denomination, let's say Baptist, Pentecostal, non-denominational, Messianic Jewish, or any other, that's a different story. When we look into the New Testament, we see that the principle of one sinning and the congregation, the community of the believers, and its impact on the community of believers, it's a biblical principle that is carried over from the Hebrew Bible to the New Testament. And we see this very clearly in 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Okay? In 1 Corinthians chapter 5, we read the following, verse 6. Your boasting is not good. Do you not know that the little leaven leavens the whole lump? Cleanse out the old leaven, that you may be new lump, as you really are unleavened. For Christ, our Passover lamb, has been sacrificed. Let us therefore celebrate the festival not with the old leaven, the leaven of malice and evil, but with the leavened bread of sincerity and truth, right? And then he continues on about those who are sinning in the congregation, right? And he says in verses 12 and 13, for what have I to do with judging outsiders? Is it not those inside the church whom you are to judge? God judges those outside. Purge the evil person from among you. Okay, so it's basically the same principle with Achan, right? He was an evil person in ancient Israelite community, and they were supposed to purge that evil person from among them. And we know how that God's judgment fell upon that man and his household. So biblically speaking, we do see a biblical connection, a biblical principle that if there is an individual or several people who live in a very sinful way, they do not repent, it will impact the whole community. And we see the principle as well, it carried over to the book of Revelation, the seven churches, the seven letters of the seven churches. You remember? Revelation chapters 2 and 3, right? And we see again, the same principle works out there as well, about individuals who defile others and how the Lord looks at those kind of situations. So we are to be aware of it. The Watchtower organization, they need to repent. They cannot apply those biblical principles to themselves, anything from here, right? They need to come to know the Lord. They need to come to a local Bible-believing community, give their hearts to Yeshua, the risen Lord, and be reconciled to God. And then, of course, they should serve in the local congregation of Bible believers.